I'd like to call the meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council Audit Committee for August the 9th meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. at the Belle Chase Council Building, and the machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that Councilman Juneau and Roussel are present, and Ms. Savant will be absent today. We'd like to move on to Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Duke, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being in attendance today. We'll move to item 2.
A review of the PPG budget as of July 31st, 2018.
Mr. Duke?
Okay, let's take a look at on the screen. Can we bring this up on the screen, the budget report? There we go. This budget report is as of July 31st of 18. It shows all the Plaquemines Parish departments. And if you take a look at the column where it says used and received, that gives you the over and under budgeted amounts. As you can see, most, if not all of these departments are under budget as of July 31st. As we scroll down, there's one item that I had discussed with the committee about two meetings ago. And we can scroll down, we can see it was community programs. If I can find it here. There it is, community programs, Department 587 was at 100%. And I found out what this was all about. This is a grant that the parish has given to community programs. It's called the CARE program grant for $200,000. That it's a parish, it's public money that the parish has given to the CARE facility. Let me bring you their website. This is their website, Plaquemines Care Centers. And if you take a look at this website, you can see all the different programs that's being covered by this grant. It's the CASA, Plaquemines Advocacy Center, community meeting. There's a lot that this group does for Plaquemines Parish, trying to social programs, trying to help the citizens of Plaquemines Parish. And I think that, as far as I can say, it's a really good program. I haven't audited this program as yet, so I'm not real certain about how the invoices are being paid. I am looking into it. The department that's in charge of reviewing these invoices and paying these invoices is the administration department under Mr. Peoples. So I am in contact with Ms. Olson, who is the director of the CARE program, and we're talking back and forth as to how these invoices are being reviewed and how we're ensuring that the expenses are correct. So anyway, I thought I'd bring this to the audit committee's attention. I had gone over this a couple of meetings ago. I really didn't know what that $200,000 was, but I did some research and found out that this is what it is.
Okay.
And, if we scroll down, keep scrolling down, most of these departments are coming in as of July 31st under budget. You have a few that are, up in the 70% range. And as you go to this page here, let's see what page number this is. This is page 3. You start looking at some of these departments. A lot of money that's being spent to date is on capital improvements. And I'm not exactly, I haven't delved into what these capital improvements are, but it's Department 910. But this appears to be a great deal of money spent in this area. So as we scroll down, all the way down to the end here, we start taking a look at your totals as of July 31st. And we see that the total amended budget was roughly $264 million. Your year-to-date encumbrances of about $15 million and year-to-date transactions roughly $40 million. You have leftover a budget of $210 million. And last year, the total amount spent last year was roughly about $80 million. And it looks to me like my analysis is showing that we're roughly spending about $7 million a month. It looks to me like we're going to come in about $90 million spent at the end of this year. That's my projection. There again, I'm looking at these figures, and a lot of this money has to do with capital improvements. I'm really not, I haven't delved into that account yet, but I plan on taking a good look at it and seeing what's going on with that. Any questions on the budget?
Any questions from anyone? Most of those capital improvements, I think you're going to find are probably FEMA projects.
Okay.
I'm thinking that's what that is, because that's an enormous amount of money for us in our operating budget. There's nowhere near that amount of money.
I agree with you.
And so I'm sure as you delve into it, you'll be able to pull it apart and figure out exactly what we're talking about with those huge numbers.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Any further action or, discussion on item A? If none, we'll move to B.
Adoption of the employee travel and expense policies.
The next item is the policies that Mr. Peoples, the Director of Administration, has provided to Plaquemines Parish. These are the policies that we're going to use to audit this process going forward. He's done a really good job, detailed job, creating these policies. I'd like to bring these policies up for adoption for the committee so that we can use these as an audit criteria going forward. You can see authorization review. He's done a lot of really good work on this, very detailed.
Is this going to be prepared in an ordinance form that we'll adopt?
I do think that it should be an ordinance form, absolutely, or a resolution, preferably ordinance. It
Yes.
should be brought before the council, I think,
We'll,
to make sure that we know these are the policies that we're going to adhere to in the future for this process.
okay. Now, this would be strictly for the employee travel and expense policies.
Yes, sir. Plaquemines Parish.
Okay, and the clerk of court has asked me if we could share some of this information, and she wants to make sure that her policies are kind of in conformance, maybe with ours, or to make sure that she's
Happy to get with
on
her.
safe ground.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do.
Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I would request that he did the same for the court, if he can share those with us, so that when we're doing our amendments, I can make sure that we're in, in line with the rest.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's good. So we've already been through the audit process, and now we have recommendations on policy changes, and next will be the policy changes and adoption,
Yes,
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you don't mind sharing that with the port and the clerk of court's office and anyone else that asks, and if the secretaries will prepare an ordinance to adopt these policies, we'll introduce this as an ordinance and lay it over for the council's consideration, and we'll adopt them in a couple of months, in a month or so maybe.
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right?
Sounds good.
Any other comments or discussion on the employee travel and expense policies? Hearing none, we can move to old business.
Audits in progress, ports contracts, CEAs and agreements, internal audit.
Yeah, I'm currently, as everyone knows, I'm currently in the process of reviewing the ports contracts. And if you can take a look on the screen here, I kind of show you what I've been doing and where I stand with this. we've completed the entrance interview. I'm in the planning stage. I'm looking at a lot of documents in the planning part of it. I'm also combining the planning with the field work. I've taken a look at some of the contracts, but I'm in the contract review stage as well. So these two items, number 2 and number 3, that's where I am right now. And this examination is going to take a little while. We want to make sure we do a thorough job on this. And Miss Riley has been very, very helpful. And my requests have been immediately responded to, and I want to thank her for her help in that area. And I look forward to completing this audit with her input and with Mr. Matthews' input and Mr. Sanders' input and whoever else wants to be involved. So we're on track with this. I don't think my target date on this is probably sometime in October. I would suggest to the committee that we maybe not have a meeting in September. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to go over in September, so possibly cancel the audit committee meeting in September if that's within the rules. I'm not sure. And then I'll have a whole lot more and hopefully a draft report to go over with the committee in October. So I just suggest that. But as you can see, with my database here, that the planning, and I'm not going into a whole lot of detail, with what I'm doing with the port right now. That's going to have to come later. But I just want you to know the two areas that I am in, working hard on, and that's the planning and the field work. I'm reviewing, certain contracts in depth.
Okay. Let me take the opportunity to thank Ms. Riley as well for the cooperation. I've seen a 180-degree turnaround recently with the cooperation that we've sought, and as Mr. Duke stated, he's working with you on a regular basis, and I thank you for your efforts. And I'm glad we've gotten to the point to where I believe we've turned the corner, where we agree that we're all on the same page as far as what our goal is, and that's just to improve our processes and make sure that everything that we do is in the daylight and for the benefit of the public. So thank you again for your cooperation, and I know we put you in a tough spot sometimes between your supervision and our efforts, but it's nothing personal, and I'm sure you can appreciate that we have a job to do and you have a job to do, and I'm glad we're on the same page finally. You're welcome. Any further comments or discussion on this item? Hearing none, we move to item 4.
Approval of the minutes from the July 12, 2018 meeting.
I have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Juneau moves. I'll second. Any comments or discussion on the adoption of the minutes? Hearing none, machine is open. And the minutes are adopted 2-0 with Ms. Salvant being absent. In light of the discussion that Mr. Duke presented considering the September meeting, I think it would be appropriate for us to go ahead and follow that recommendation and cancel the September meeting. We can put a notice out that the September meeting will be canceled. And on that line, we do have items on the council agenda for adoption of policies regarding the port, and I'm hopeful that those items will be deferred until we come to the point in time where the recommendations are completed by the audit committee so that the port can review them and we can come to a conclusion on that as well. So
So you want to wait until, he said he'll have a draft by October, so we should finalize it then, and then we can do the final adoptions like in November?
something like that.
Okay.
What we'll do is he'll give a draft, so we'll have input back and forth.
Okay.
And so it'll be a draft that he issues in October. And then we work out the differences between then and something October, adopt in November. So our goal is to have new policies in place for January.
Okay, that sounds good, and I'll continue. I'll stick with the 16th deadline with all the rest of the policies because a lot of the changes and updates were done due to his previous audit as well. So we'll go ahead and continue with that draft and send it out to the board so for review and input, but that'll give us a little more time to review them. Okay.
Your recommendations, your policy that you're working on for the employee travel and expense policies are where we should be right now. And that should be coordinating with his recommendations that you just mentioned, right?
Correct. And I'll go, we had only prepared one ordinance to adopt all the changes and updates to the policy. We didn't have them individually. So we were targeting, and I was going to get with Mr. Duke as far as what we've reviewed so far with the contract policy, but I can wait until the audit is complete. We can defer it until then and just adopt all of them at the same time.
That'll be a good strategy, and that way, if we're ready to move forward with employee travel and expense, because his audits are complete, we can move forward with that specific policy to make sure that we put that on the books, because it is complete, and when he does a future audit, that will be the policy that we'll be using. For the part of the audit for contracts and CEAs, we haven't gotten to his final recommendations yet, so we can adopt that as a separate policy as the schedule we just discussed.
Okay, and I'll work with Mr. Duke because I also wanted him to review those travel and reimbursement and the credit card policies as well to make sure that I comprehended exactly his recommendations and all. So I'll work with him and I'll get you all the drafts prior to adoption.
All right, thank you so much. Any further business to come before the audit committee today? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Machine is open. And the meeting is adjourned at 9:48. Thank you all, and thank you again for your cooperation.